How we doing, Bruins fans? Welcome into another episode of the UCLA Bruins Insider Podcast on Sports Illustrated. I'm your host, Tom Cavanaugh, and today we're going to be looking at USC football, or UCLA football, taking on USC football in the Crosstown Showdown at the Rose Bowl this Saturday night. You can follow myself, Tom Cavanaugh, at TCav30 on Twitter/X, and then to follow our insider pages, go over to Twitter/X and Facebook at UCLA Insider on SI. And if you want to get it straight from the source, just type in your search bar UCLA Sports Illustrated, and you'll be able to find all of our articles covering all of our sports. Got some recent stuff about some alumni, some NBA hoopers that used to play for USC that have been thriving of late. So some really great stuff to check out over there, along with the upcoming, current events with football and basketball. So today we're going to take a look at this USC Trojans offense. We're going to be breaking down their whole team. Lincoln Riley will speak later this week. We're going to break down his comments as well as the week comes along. But this is a big game. The first time that the UCLA is going to play on a Saturday in the last 3 weeks. They've been back-to-back Friday night games against Iowa for homecoming, and then on the road against Washington for their final regular home game of their regular season. So the Bruins are taking on a Trojans offense that, as a team, they struggle because of their defense. They give up too many points. But as an offense, they are very solid. USC currently ranks fifth overall in total yards per game in the Big Ten. They're up there with the best of the best in the conference. Oregon, Ohio State, Indiana, Penn State. They're averaging 438.1 yards per game are the Trojans. And then you look at their pass game, they're the second best. What jumps out to me, Maryland is the best passing team in the Big Ten, averaging over 300 yards there. But yeah, Trojans are number two. They're coming out with 288 yards per game through the air. They're a little weaker running the football, middle of the pack in the conference, just $150 there. But also points per game, they're also fifth. 30 points per game, just above that, 30.3 PPGs for the USC Trojans. So they're putting up points. They're just giving up a lot as well. If you're familiar with how LSU plays football, it's quite the same. They got a great quarterback, incredible weapons in the pass game, run game as well, but their defense gives up 30, 40 points a game, and you cannot win ball games by doing that. Because USC right now, they're giving up 22 points per game. That's not extremely high. I mean, it's not like they're down there with Maryland and Purdue, but still, I mean, they need to, if they wanted to be a better record than 5-5, they'd have to be giving up 15, 16 points per game, because right now it's too much for them to sustain victories. When you look at individual players that have really shined this year for USC, you start with the quarterback Miller Moss. He had a statement game in the first week of the year, taking down LSU. That was a hell of a game between those two teams. Miller Moss so far this season, 18 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, 2,555 passing yards this season. He's completing just under 65% of his passes. So it's good stuff from Miller. He's going to throw a lot, obviously, being the second highest passing team in the conference. They're going to sling the rock. He also has 18 touchdown passes. So when the ball's in his hands and he's looking to throw, it turns out in the right favor. Now, they have lost some uncharacteristic games this year, losing to Michigan, losing to Washington. They've had some blunders. They did beat Nebraska last week, 28-20, a team that the UCLA Bruins also beat this year, so that's a good comparison. Both teams able to come out on top there, and pretty even, I'd say, between the Bruins and the Trojans, specifically on the offensive side. Even though UCLA rushing the football, they're the worst in the conference, or they definitely are when it comes to average yards per game. Passing the ball, they're much better, but I think these teams match up well because of the lack of defense that USC does play. Rushing the football, you got one man that's really, really impressive is Woody Marks, the senior back. He has over 1,000 yards rushing this season. He's scored 9 touchdowns on the ground. Very, very good stuff from Woody Marks. I mean, he's been the number one guy for a couple of years over there. And, he's averaging just under 6 yards a carry. Watch out for Woody Marks. I mean, we saw what happened last week with Washington. Their running back, Jonah Coleman, broke out for a couple big runs, had a couple scores as well. That cannot happen this week. They're going to have to bottle up Woody Marks just like they did Caleb Johnson back a couple weeks ago on homecoming against Iowa. In the receiving game, it's pretty spread out. They got several different players that kind of get the ball distributed uh, pretty evenly. You got two receivers with over 400 yards per game. You got three with over 300 yards per game. Makai Lemon, Zachariah Branch, two guys in the passing game that have over 400 yards. Between the two of them, they've totaled several touchdowns this year. It's four of them. Another guy, wide receiver, has 5 touchdowns in Jacoby Lane. He's a sophomore. Just talent all over the field in the passing game. And that's why Miller's thrown 18 touchdown passes, because he has so many different guys to go to. Deuce Robinson, the sophomore, has 5 touchdown catches as well this season. When they get going offensively, it's usually in the passing game, and it shows not only in the stat sheet but on the field as well. Just from kind of running down these numbers, looking at all these different guys, 21 total touchdowns through the air for receivers on the USC Trojans. So I'm very impressed when you look up and down, especially the number of sophomores that are posting these numbers. Guys like Deuce Robinson, Jacoby Lane, Makai Lemon, all have to be handled this week. And a big thing is going to be the pressure that the Bruins can get on Miller Moss. Now you look at it, Miller's only been sacked 10 times this year, and that's in 10 total games. So they're averaging just 1 sack a game, their offensive line is. That might not be enough for the Bruins to be able to create enough havoc on Moss to speed up his throwing motion, have him just throw it away, try to scramble for some extra yards. Miller is much more of a passing pocket quarterback, I should say, considering he's got negative 18 yards on the year. Obviously, that comes from being sacked, but also he's not going to run the football if they get to him. So it's going to be on guys like Jay Toy, Oluwafemi Oladeo, Carson Schwessinger, Kane Medrano, several of the defenders to be able to blitz Moss, get past that offensive line, and show that they can really cause problems for the USC O-line and also their passing game, and also in the run game as well. Because Woody Marks, I mean, if he has a breakout game and he goes off for 150 yards or even over 100 yards, it could be a long day for the Bruins. You just have to remember this is a home game for both teams. It's at the Rose Bowl. This is a game that both teams look forward to and they talk about all year long. I mean, kind of like the Michigan-Ohio State rivalry. They prep for that game at least one day a week throughout the entire season. So this is a game that is really looked forward to by both programs. You got Lincoln Riley at the head of that USC program for the last several years after coming over from Oklahoma. You got first-year head coach Deshaun Foster for the Bruins. He's got a fresh new coaching staff as well this season, besides a few guys that hung around. It's going to be a really telling battle to see where both of these teams stand, not only in the state of California, but also in the Big Ten. Because USC, I mean, they had high expectations coming into the year, especially after beating LSU week 1. They have not lived up to that, and it's kind of vice versa with the Bruins after starting 1-5. You expected them to have a down year, and yet they're 4-6, clawing back, trying to get to a bowl game. If the Bruins win and are able to limit this offense for the Trojans, they're going to be 5-6 and just a game away from becoming bowl eligible. So that's going to do it for us here on the UCLA Bruins Insider Podcast on Sports Illustrated on the Fans First Sports Network. Tom Cavanaugh saying so long, everybody. We will see you again tomorrow on a Wednesday.